Let's talk a little bit about DVR trends and 3D TV. Where do you see those platforms going?
Well, first of all, I'll expand your question a bit to also include sensory recognition, but I really don't believe the research that shows that DVR viewing in commercial homes actually is, relatively meaningless in terms of impact on commercial viewing. I don't believe that someone can watch a fast-forwarded commercial and have 85% of the value of the commercial communicated. DVR and time shift, rather than calling let's call it time shift viewing in many different ways, is going to become the norm. I think we have to go from a C3 to a C7. I think we have to go to a commercial viewing metric. I think ultimately the media have proven with the C3 that, and with the existing research, that they're able to survive just fine. I think they will continue to. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. That's how people are viewing today, and I think marketers will demand that the media and the agencies adjust to the reality of what's happening in the home and outside of the home, as opposed to requiring that or accepting the kinds of research that just flies in the face of logic. In terms of 3D, I think while we're several years away, within 3 years we'll have glasses-free, simple 3D, and we'll have sophisticated, active glasses for things like US Open tennis and football, where there'll be really interesting dynamics in 3D. I think 3D will, within 5 to 7 years, will become a fairly well-established standard in upscale homes, and marketers and media companies will have to adjust. But what really excites me is sensory recognition. If you think of Microsoft's Kinect software, where you stand in front of the TV and it has a camera and it looks at you, think of the camera in the television set looking at the viewers in the context of research opportunities, and you kind of go nuts a little bit with the opportunities. But the reality is that there's technology now, companies like OMEC and PrimeSense and Samsung and Motorola and others, developing sensory recognition, where you'll just be able, with the flip of a wrist and the movement of fingers, to control your TV set, and it'll know who you are because it'll be recognizing you. And when you say, well, people will never accept the camera in their TV looking at you, well, they already are for gaming, and they're accepting 3D, by the way, for gaming, and they'll love 3D for gaming, so it's another reason 3D will grow in the home. But they'll also be using it for Skype and communicating. So the camera in that television set, I think, will, for research, from a research point of view, will be the single greatest advance, because you'll know who the viewer is, and they'll be volunteering a huge amount of information about themselves, and you'll be able to track their actions literally on a second-by-second basis.
So it will really address the lack of demographics in set-top box data.
All the, Erwin Efron for years has been arguing, and I think appropriately, for using assumptive data. If someone's watching kid shows, you can assume they have kids. If someone's a real sports nut, well, you can make a fairly valid assumption that a certain percentage of those people are male. That all goes out the window in terms of need in those homes that are going to have these advanced televisions. But I think what we have to do is we have to understand what's happening in those homes, because, again, in 10 to 15 years, every home, not every, but 80% of the homes will have those advanced televisions. The nature of consumer electronics sales demonstrates that the adoption rate is fairly rapid, and it will continue to be. So I think if you look at it in that context and you say, well, we're going to hold on to our traditional models and our traditional metrics until it's in 60 or 70% of homes, then it's too late. You haven't developed the models, you haven't developed the business, and you've set the media back significantly by not allowing them to utilize the tools that our technology is enabling that advance the business. They don't set the business back at all, they advance it in so many ways.
What would you say is the timeline for sensory recognition measurement?
Well, the sensory recognition is 3 years away. It was at CES this year. It'll be a major thrust at CES next year, which would suggest that within 4 years, it's really going into the homes in a significant way. 4 to 5 years. In terms of research, that's up to what the research community makes of it and whether they see it as an opportunity or as a threat.